In the quiet suburbs of Denver, a seemingly ordinary family's life was transformed by an extraordinary event. Welcome to Prayerful Moments. The Thompson family, after years of longing for a child, had finally adopted a little boy named Ethan. At just 3 years old, Ethan's arrival brought a mix of hope and uncertainty into their lives. But little did they know, their new son would soon become the center of a miracle that defied all logic and explanation. Over the course of just a few months, Ethan began conversing with someone only he could see, the Virgin Mary, depicted in a statue in their garden. What began as innocent, imaginary chats soon took a miraculous turn when Ethan, with an intensity beyond his years, began sharing urgent messages that saved lives and healed broken relationships. From revealing a gas leak in a neighbor's home to warning about a serious medical condition, Ethan's connection with the Virgin Mary seemed to transcend time and space. This is the incredible story of the adopted boy who spoke with the Virgin Mary in a garden, a story that challenges the boundaries of faith, hope, and the unexplained miracles that can change our lives in the most unexpected ways. It all began shortly after Ethan arrived at the Thompson household. Michael and Rachel, after years of disappointment and failed attempts to have children of their own, had finally decided to adopt. They were overjoyed by the arrival of Ethan, a small boy with big blue eyes that seemed to look straight into their souls. Yet, despite their excitement, Ethan was quiet and reserved, almost as if he were too cautious to fully embrace his new life. He rarely expressed his needs and instead spent long hours sitting still, observing the world around him with an intense seriousness that was uncommon for a child his age. He ate his meals without complaint and never asked for toys or attention, which puzzled Michael and Rachel, who both wanted to shower him with love and care. In the beginning, Ethan's behavior was more than a little concerning. They wondered whether he was simply shy or if the trauma from his early years had left him emotionally distant. Michael, especially, struggled with the fear that he might never truly connect with Ethan, that the little boy might always remain closed off, a stranger within their own home. Rachel, though hopeful, shared similar concerns, often whispering to Michael at night, "What if he never opens up?" despite their best efforts to engage him. Ethan remained almost impossibly reserved. He did not respond to Michael's attempts to play, nor did he engage with the toys Rachel would offer. The idea of an imaginary friend, a common occurrence for young children, never seemed likely in Ethan's case until one afternoon, when Rachel noticed something that would change everything. It was a Saturday, just a few weeks after Ethan's arrival, when Rachel first noticed him in the garden. She had been preparing lunch, looking out the kitchen window when she saw Ethan standing very still in front of the stone niche where a statue of the Virgin Mary stood. He wasn't playing with the toys scattered on the grass like she expected. Instead, he was facing the statue, his small hands resting gently on the stone edge, his eyes fixed in quiet concentration. Rachel felt a twinge of curiosity. It seemed as though Ethan was lost in a world that no one else could see. But there he stood, his gaze fixed on the figure of the Virgin Mary, a serene expression on her carved face. For a moment, Rachel stood frozen, watching him. It was not the first time he had been drawn to that corner of the garden, but it was the first time she had seen him act with such focus. Ethan did not look like he was simply playing. His posture, his stillness, everything about him seemed to suggest that he was involved in something far more significant. Rachel dismissed the thought quickly, reminding herself that children often create their own little worlds. But a strange sensation washed over her, something between wonder and concern. Could this be a sign of Ethan finally starting to open up, Or was there something deeper happening? The next day, after breakfast, Ethan made his first verbal request, an asking that seemed simple, yet filled with unspoken weight. "Can I go outside?" he asked, his voice quiet but clear. Rachel's heart lifted at the sound of his words. It was the first time he had truly asked for something on his own, and it was a sign of progress, however small. She was pleased to see him wanting to go outside, thinking he might finally be finding comfort in his new environment. Little did she know, it was not the toys or the sunny backyard that attracted him. Ethan walked directly toward the niche in the garden, the same place where the statue of the Virgin Mary stood. Rachel watched from the window as Ethan walked to the same spot he had visited the day before. He didn't stop at the toys or the flowers. No, he walked with purpose, as if guided by something unseen. And when he arrived at the stone niche, he began to talk. His lips moved softly, though Rachel could not make out any of the words. He wasn't shouting or playing. There was no excitement in his voice, only a calm, almost reverential tone. For several moments, he stood in silence, his hands touching the stone, speaking to no one visible. It was then that Rachel's curiosity turned to unease. Was he simply talking to himself? Or was there something else happening here, unable to resist the urge to understand? Rachel decided to approach him. She slipped out the back door and into the garden, stepping quietly so as not to startle him. As she approached, she cleared her throat softly. Ethan turned quickly, his eyes wide, as if caught doing something secret. The look on his face reminded Rachel of a child caught in mischief. But there was no mischief here, only an intensity she couldn't ignore. "Ethan," Rachel called gently, kneeling beside him. "Who are you talking to, sweetheart?" Ethan glanced at the Virgin Mary statue, then back at Rachel, and simply answered. To the lady in blue, his words, though soft and innocent, sent a chill down Rachel's spine. The lady in blue. The statue was a depiction of the Virgin Mary, a serene figure draped in blue robes. But to Rachel, hearing Ethan speak of her this way, so calmly, so matter-of-factly, was unlike anything she had expected. "The lady in blue," Rachel repeated, her voice shaky but trying to remain calm. "She's very kind." Ethan nodded, his expression serious. "She says, you want me to stay, that you're not going to send me away." Rachel felt her heart clench. She hadn't realized just how deep Ethan's fear of abandonment ran. She didn't know if this was just a child's fantasy or something more, but she knew that, in this moment, Ethan's need for reassurance was real. "Ethan," she whispered, kneeling in front of him, "look at me. You're not going anywhere. This is your home now, forever." Ethan met her gaze, and after a long pause, he replied, "That's what she said, too." It was a moment that marked the beginning of something neither Rachel nor Michael could have ever prepared for. Ethan was not just a child with an imaginary friend. He was speaking with the Virgin Mary, or at least that's what he believed. And the message he carried was one of comfort, assurance, and a promise of safety, a promise that Rachel could not ignore. This was only the start of a journey that would lead them down a path of inexplicable miracles. But for now, it was enough to know that Ethan was beginning to feel at home. Little did they know, Ethan's connection to the Virgin Mary would soon lead to a series of events that defied logic and would forever change their lives. As Ethan's connection with the Virgin Mary deepened, strange and inexplicable events began to unfold. Events that no one, least of all the Thompsons, could have ever predicted. What had started as a series of quiet conversations with a statue in the garden soon morphed into an extraordinary series of miraculous warnings. warnings that Ethan, at only 3 years old, shared with his parents. Each time, the messages were urgent and specific, pointing to situations that Ethan had no way of knowing about. Yet, each one turned out to be crucial for the safety and well-being of those involved. These weren't the typical imaginary friend stories. These were life-changing, miraculous moments that saved lives and prevented disasters. The first warning came one afternoon when Ethan ran inside the house, looking terrified and urgent. "Mom, Rachel," he called out breathlessly. "Something's wrong at Mr. Harrison's house." Mr. Harrison, an elderly neighbor, lived next door and was known for his quiet, solitary nature. "Something smells bad, and it's dangerous," Ethan insisted, his eyes wide with a seriousness that was hard to ignore. "She said we have to tell him right now." Rachel, who had never seen Ethan so intense, was at first skeptical. How could a 3-year-old child know something was wrong at the neighbor's house? Yet, there was something in Ethan's tone, an urgency that rang true. Despite her doubts, Rachel decided to act. She walked over to the fence and called out to Mr. Harrison, asking him if he'd noticed any strange smells in his home lately. To her surprise, he confessed that he had smelled something odd. A sweet odor in his kitchen for the past few nights. Rachel suggested he call the gas company to have it checked, and when the technician arrived, it was discovered that there was a small but dangerous gas leak behind the kitchen wall. Had it not been for Ethan's warning, the leak might have gone undetected, causing a potentially catastrophic situation. Mr. Harrison, shaken and grateful, couldn't understand how Ethan had known. But Rachel was beginning to realize that this was no coincidence. Just days later, another warning came, this time with a more personal connection to Rachel's own life. Ethan had been playing quietly in the living room when he suddenly approached her, eyes wide with worry. "Mother Rachel," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "Don't take it. The lady in blue says it's dangerous." Rachel, who had just picked up her regular prescription for anxiety medication, was puzzled. Ethan had never shown any interest in her medication before. "What do you mean, Ethan?" she asked, though she dismissed it at first as another one of his strange thoughts. But Ethan, insistent and nearly frantic, grabbed her hand, repeating his warning with more urgency. "The lady in blue says it's dangerous. You'll get really sick if you take it." Rachel, feeling both annoyed and concerned, reassured him and took the bottle to the kitchen, but something in Ethan's voice, in his insistence, made her hesitate. She called the pharmacy to double-check the prescription, convinced that this was just another child's imagination. However, when the pharmacist confirmed that there had been a mix-up, Rachel's stomach dropped. The medication was not the one she was supposed to take. It could have caused a severe adverse reaction, possibly requiring hospitalization. In that moment, Rachel couldn't deny the gravity of the situation. If Ethan hadn't warned her, she would have taken the wrong medication and could have suffered dire consequences. The reality of the miracle that Ethan had just shown her was beginning to set in. He wasn't simply speaking with an imaginary friend. He was receiving divine messages that were saving lives. These were not isolated incidents, nor were they just flukes. Over the next few weeks, Ethan continued to receive urgent messages from the Virgin Mary, each one as specific and crucial as the last. One morning, Ethan approached his father, Michael, with a message that stopped him in his tracks. "Father Michael," Ethan said, his voice small but firm, "the lady in blue says you can't take the road you always take to Chicago. There's danger." Michael, who was preparing for a long drive to a business meeting, was initially dismissive. It was his usual route, the most direct. and he had traveled it countless times. But seeing the look on Ethan's face, Michael couldn't shake the unease that was creeping in. He hesitated, something inside him telling him to listen. And so, at the last minute, he decided to take a different route. The trip was uneventful, and when he arrived in Chicago, exhausted but safe, Michael turned on the news the next morning. The highway he would have taken was closed for hours due to a serious accident. A multi-vehicle crash that involved a truck losing control. Had Michael been on that road, he would have been caught right in the middle of the chaos. His heart raced as he realized how close he had come to disaster. The warning Ethan had received from the Virgin Mary had spared him from a potential catastrophe. And Michael was overwhelmed with gratitude and awe. Through each miraculous event, from the gas leak to the medical warning, from the car accident to the potential medication disaster, one thing was clear. Ethan's connection with the Virgin Mary was no coincidence. These weren't random events. They were precise, deliberate messages meant to protect and guide those around him. The Thompsons, who had once questioned the depth of their faith, were now confronted with a reality that challenged everything they had known. Ethan, their quiet, reserved son, had become the instrument through which miracles were unfolding in their lives. The warnings were not just signs, they were divine interventions that left no room for doubt. The Thompsons had entered a world beyond their comprehension, where the ordinary mingled with the extraordinary, and where a 3-year-old child held the power to change lives and save them from unimaginable harm. As the miracles continued to unfold around Ethan, the Thompson family's life was irrevocably changed. They had gone from living an ordinary life in suburban Denver to witnessing events that defied all logic and explanation. But the greatest transformation was yet to come. Beyond the miracles that saved lives and prevented disasters, something deeper was happening to the Thompson family. Ethan was changing, and so were Michael and Rachel. The experiences they had gone through together made them question their understanding of faith, family, and what it meant to truly believe in something beyond what could be seen. More than anything, they found themselves growing closer to each other, bound together, not just by love, but by a shared sense of awe and reverence for what was happening in their home. Ethan, once a quiet, distant child, began to transform before their eyes. The boy who had been too reserved to even ask for toys now began to open up, becoming more expressive and playful. He started asking questions, playing with the other children in the neighborhood, and even taking an active interest in the world around him. But it wasn't just his behavior that changed. It was the way he began to approach life. There was a new sense of confidence in him, a kind of peace that wasn't there before. It was as if he had found his place in the world, and he no longer carried the heavy weight of fear and uncertainty that had once defined him. For Michael and Rachel, the changes in Ethan were just as profound. They had both been skeptical at first, unsure of what to make of the divine messages Ethan was receiving. But with each miracle, with each life saved, their doubts began to fade. The miracles had proven themselves beyond a shadow of a doubt. But it was not just Ethan's extraordinary connection with the Virgin Mary that had changed them. It was the entire experience of raising Ethan. They had gone through years of heartache and struggle, hoping for a child of their own, only to find him in the most unexpected way. The miracle was not just about the warnings and the miracles. It was about how Ethan had filled the empty spaces in their hearts, transforming their family into something far greater than they had ever imagined. One of the most significant turning points came when Ethan had his final conversation with the Virgin Mary. It was a quiet summer day, and the family was in the garden, as they often were, enjoying the warmth and peace of their backyard. Ethan was sitting in front of the statue of the Virgin Mary, his small hands gently resting on the stone niche. Michael and Rachel were nearby, watching him with a mixture of admiration and concern. It had been several weeks since the last miracle, and they couldn't help but wonder if Ethan's connection with the Virgin Mary was coming to an end. They had grown so accustomed to the daily conversations, to the sense of divine intervention that had become a part of their lives, but that afternoon, something was different. Ethan sat for longer than usual, his face reflecting a deep, quiet sadness. Rachel watched him, her heart aching for the boy who had already brought so much light into their lives. When Ethan finally stood up, his eyes were red, his cheeks streaked with tears. He walked slowly toward Rachel and Michael, who had been quietly observing him. There was a weight in his small frame, an unspoken understanding that filled the air. He didn't say anything right away. He simply looked at them, his eyes reflecting a mixture of sorrow and peace. Rachel knelt down to his level, her hands reaching out to hold him. "What did she say?" Ethan Rachel asked softly, her voice filled with concern. Ethan took a deep breath, wiping his eyes. "She said that I helped the people who needed it, that now it's okay for me to just be a kid." His voice wavered slightly, as if he were trying to hold back the emotion building inside him. "She said she'll always take care of me, even if I don't talk to her every day, and that she's proud of me." In that moment, everything changed. Ethan had always spoken of the Virgin Mary with a sense of reverence and purpose, as if he was fulfilling a higher mission. But now, the message he conveyed was one of closure, of peace, and of release. The weight of the burden he had carried, of being the messenger, the one who communicated divine warnings, was finally lifted. Ethan no longer had to carry the responsibility of delivering messages from the Virgin Mary. He could simply be a child again. For Michael and Rachel, the final message was a moment of profound clarity. They realized that the miracle they had witnessed in their home was not just about the physical warnings or the protection they had received. It was about Ethan's growth, his journey from a quiet, reserved child to a boy who had found peace within himself. And it was about their own transformation as parents. They had been witnesses to something miraculous, yes, but they had also been changed by it. They had learned to trust, to believe, and to surrender to the unknown. The Virgin Mary, through Ethan, had not only protected their lives, but it also brought them closer to one another and to their own faith. In the months that followed, Ethan became more and more like a normal child. He played, laughed, and grew in ways that every parent hopes for. But even as he stopped talking to the Virgin Mary in the garden, his connection with her remained. It was no longer through words or daily conversations, but through a quiet understanding that he carried within him. The image of the Virgin Mary, once a symbol of comfort and guidance, had become something even more profound, a reminder of the miraculous love that had brought him to the Thompsons, and the peace that had enveloped their family. Michael and Rachel often reflect on the journey they had been through, the adoption, the miracles, and the transformation of their family. They know they will never fully understand how or why these events happened, but they no longer feel the need to. They simply accept that they were chosen to witness something greater than themselves. And with that acceptance came a deep sense of peace, knowing that their family had been part of a miracle that transcended all logic and reason. The Virgin Mary may not speak to Ethan every day anymore, but Rachel and Michael know that she is always there, in the quiet moments, watching over their family with love and protection. And for them, that is enough. Ethan had found his place in the world, and so had they, together, as a family bound by faith, love, and the memory of a miracle that would never fade. In the months that followed, Ethan became more and more like a normal child. He played, laughed, and grew in ways that every parent hopes for. But even as he stopped talking to the Virgin Mary in the garden, his connection with her remained. It was no longer through words or daily conversations, but through a quiet understanding that he carried within him. The image of the Virgin Mary, once a symbol of comfort and guidance, had become something even more profound, a reminder of the miraculous love that had brought him to the Thompsons and the peace that had enveloped their family. Michael and Rachel often reflect on the journey they had been through, the adoption, the miracles, and the transformation of their family. They know they will never fully understand how or why these events happened, but they no longer feel the need to. They simply accept that they were chosen to witness something greater than themselves. And with that acceptance came a deep sense of peace, knowing that their family had been part of a miracle that transcended all logic and reason. The Virgin Mary may not speak to Ethan every day anymore, but Rachel and Michael know that she is always there, in the quiet moments, watching over their family with love and protection. And for them, that is enough. Ethan had found his place in the world, and so had they, together, as a family bound by faith, love, and the memory of a miracle that would never fade. As the Thompson family's extraordinary journey with Ethan unfolded, they came to realize that the miracles they experienced were not just isolated incidents, but rather a divine message that transcended time and space. What began as a quiet, almost imperceptible connection between a 3-year-old child and the Virgin Mary transformed into a powerful story of faith, protection, and miraculous intervention. Ethan's quiet conversations with the Virgin Mary, once dismissed as the imaginary musings of a young child, became the foundation of life-saving warnings and profound spiritual growth for his family. Through these miraculous events, Michael and Rachel not only witnessed the protection of their loved ones, but also experienced a profound shift in their own hearts, a deepened faith that defied explanation. The miracles in Denver serve as a reminder that, sometimes, faith and divine guidance come in the most unexpected forms. It's easy to question the reality of such occurrences, but the Thompsons' story is a testament to the power of believing in something greater than ourselves. For Michael, Rachel, and Ethan, the journey of faith has forever changed the way they see the world, their family, and their relationship with the divine. In a world full of uncertainty, this story offers a glimmer of hope, a reminder that miracles can still happen, and that love and protection are always just a prayer away. If this story has touched your heart, I invite you to reflect on the miracles in your own life. Maybe you've experienced moments of divine intervention, or perhaps you've longed for a deeper connection with something greater than yourself. Whatever it may be, take this story as a reminder that miracles are not always grand spectacles. They often come in the quiet moments, the gentle whispers, and the simple acts of faith. Thank you for joining me in this powerful journey. If you've been inspired by Ethan's story and the miracles that unfolded, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, so you never miss another inspiring story of faith and hope. Also, feel free to leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this story, and let's continue to spread these messages of love, faith, and miracles. Don't forget to explore other videos on this channel, where you'll find more stories that will uplift your spirit and deepen your connection to faith. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey. Stay blessed.